Good afternoon, this is Rudy Garcia with the Orange County Screenwriters, and I'm here with Manny Pacheco and Gary Lycan. Manny's written a book called Forgotten Hollywood, Forgotten History, and they're here to answer a couple of questions.
Sure.
So Manny, you've been involved with broadcasting since about, the 1980s. With all the cutbacks that TV stations are making now, is there still a future for both on-camera and behind-the-scenes work?
I think there's always going to be a future, and the reason for that has to do with satellite and has to do with the computer age. I think obviously if somebody has the wherewithal and the creativity to create a program, a niche market, I think that they can be used and utilized much more readily because you become your own boss on the computer, you become your own boss when it comes to satellite. I think there's absolutely wonderful opportunities in that area.
Gary, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I totally agree with what Manny said. It's an ever-changing business. Besides local radio, there are all the things that Manny mentioned, and people have to look for those opportunities in every possible way they can. I think you'll see the growth in internet radio. Satellite radio will always be here. Lots of opportunities, but again, you've got to look for them. They're not going to come to you. You've got to look for them if you're looking to get into the business.
And not only look for them, but create them. You can create them, and you got to think outside the box.
Yeah, for sure. I'm starting to realize that. How do you think TV stations now can best leverage the internet, and maybe use the internet to enhance what's put on the air?
Well, I think they are already doing that. I think that they're using much more, globally we've become a smaller market, so that everything is becoming much more available. You become more network friendly through the Facebook and the tweets and the things like that. So all of a sudden you're watching a Laker game, great example, and you're watching one of the players like Ron Artest tweeting to his followers exactly what's going on, and basically they're using media in the middle of a game to tell a story. I mean, that's a great example.
Well, I think also because you don't see a division. You used to see broadcast networks and cable networks. Now the division is gone. When you have the Laker playoffs on TNT, most people don't know what TNT is. I read where only 11% of households in America do not have cable. So everybody has cable and everybody has choices. And almost every program you watch now, especially news programs, they're talking about tweeting and they're talking about Facebook. If you see NBC Nightly News at the very end, ABC Evening News, you'll see at the very end they're putting up on the screen the Facebook page, the Twitter page, a couple of other pages. So there's been a huge Facebook and Twitter connection, and they're almost thriving on it because they want to hear from people on those two social networking sites, and that seems to be driving the internet activity the stations are using and the networks are using as well.
Not only that, I think if you watch, for example, the Rachel Maddow show on CNBC, usually when they cut away from her, what is she doing? She gets immediately on her computer, and obviously she's doing something. She's either looking for information, or she is contacting people, or developing news sources right in between the cuts. And you're seeing it as they're backing away. So they're not afraid to have the laptop right there in front for everybody to see.
Yeah.
And nowadays, like, TV stations are using, one-man bands where reporters, they go out, they write, they shoot, they edit their own stories. Like, what do you think that does to the quality of the story?
I haven't seen too much of it yet in the LA market. I know there have been a lot of cutbacks, and I know that's what they're looking to do. The people that I see on air are still some of the veterans, and I'm sure the veterans are not, taking their own camera out. I do think that they're probably starting to look for more either per diem people, meaning they'll hire them on a per day basis, who are younger and who are coming out of college and who can do multiple roles like that, or what's happening is, too, they're going to continue to use footage from the services, the freelance news services, like you see on Scene TV and so forth, that provide footage. I haven't seen too much of it in LA. I know it's a growing trend, though, across the country. It's not going to go away. It's the way the business is constantly evolving and changing.
I was interviewed last week with Tony Valdez on Fox 11, and I had not seen it either until then. We saw 3 cameras. There were no camera people. What it does, I will tell you, it does hurt the morale of the individual who's working, because you don't have somebody that you can play off of. And they realized with the cutbacks, when you get rid of this person and that person, then you have to figure at one point or another you're going to be the next person that they're going to get rid of. So from a morale point of view, I think that's a really sad thing.
All right, thank you, Manny and Gary, for joining us today, and thank you very much for your time.